Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. We're going to talk about monotheism, which include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Well, what has the miscreance of all these three religions caused in this existence? Meaning either the miscreance or a misinterpretation of these three religions. When we speak about monotheism, what does it mean, monotheism? Monotheism is mono. You believe in one God. The oneness of God. When we say the oneness of God, you admit it, you don't admit it. It is one God. It's up to you. So, the oneness of God is manifested all over the world through this existence. When you believe in one God, in other words, you admit this. In other words, it's like you're doing yourself a favor, because the existence is only through the oneness of God. It's a little deep, but we can explain this and make it as clear as we know. Doesn't mean we claim we know or we understand it deeply, clearly, but we do our best to share it, by the way. There is only the conscience of God in this existence. God's consciousness in this existence. In other words, you admit it or you don't admit it, there's only the consciousness of God. When you say consciousness, meaning the soul of God in this universe. As they call it with the Greeks, they name it animism or animatism or anima, meaning the soul in this existence. Planets, in the mountains, in the galaxies, there is soul. In reality, each existence is admitting this, but automatically or intentionally, we are not that far. We don't go that far. Even we have heard and seen some examples in a world where and when the vegetable world itself spoke and said there is only one God. The mineral world itself spoke and said there is one God. And the animal world as well. We're not going to this because it was revealed, and for the prophets, they hear this when they are awake. We call them the friends of God, awliya. In other words, is like those saints. They can hear it, it's like flash, snapshots. For the majority of people, they hear this when they are asleep. Now, monotheism. It's the human being, he is the one responsible. He has this mission to accept the oneness of God. All the others, they have this. They don't have mission, but the mission concerns mankind. And why is that? Because he is subject to visualize other than the oneness of God. He is exposed to manyness. He is exposed to the multiplicity, to visualize other than God. And what is the first visualization, association that he can or associate in his mind? The first one, which is the biggest and the most dangerous one, is the me, is the ego. Here we don't call it me, we call it the ego. This is the first one that is visualized other than God, and that's going to lead you to the biggest disaster. So, as I said, he is the one exposed, I'm talking about mankind, to the manyness, to visualize other than God. So his mission is to eliminate that, to filter that, to remove from his pathway towards God and to be with the oneness of God. And this we call it in Arabic al-ikhlas. At-takhallus is to eliminate, to purify the manyness and to go back to that from this oneness of God, why the emotions, the splendor, the immensity of the emotions won't be restricted, centralized in terms of time-space. They will be as big as the universe, because mankind is the image of the universe. What is outside him, that's the objective world, that's the macrocosm with its immensity. Macrocosm, there is no cardinal points, north, east, south, in the corner, make left, turn right. There is no such a thing in the celestial world. Mankind himself, he started to centralize himself with the right, left, etc. We're not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm saying just how restricted, how his conscience start getting narrowed, because he sees the world. He wanted to see the world from the perception of a characterization. Perception, conception with his mind from his characterization. And sensation as well. In other words, he prepared already. He's a victim of binoculars, of narrowness, of characterization. He wants to speak about the world. This is the trap of big philosophers in this existence. They wanted to see the existence through their own perception and through their own conception. They were characterized by time and space, and from that characterization they want to determine what is the eternity. Eternity, you cannot write about it. You feel it through big struggle, jud, effort. That's what you call in Arabic jihad of the ego. The ego wants to live the temporal. The reality is not temporal, is eternal. Now, from this kind of acceptance of the oneness of God through humility, eliminating the me, eliminating the ego, that's how you absorb sort of like laser sword. Is it coming from up, from right, from left, from... No. It's coming from nowhere. You welcome the oneness of God through your humility. This is how you see in this world. From you will discharge vibes. Yet the science hasn't explained, hasn't been able to reach this kind of discovery. This is how you feed, and this is your vibes, how they feed the vegetable world, the mineral world, and the animal world. You will see what you call in Arabic, there are some words, it's impossible to explain them in English or Latin. You may find this is in Arabic and in Hebrew as well. So it's called baraka. Baraka is something from a minor thing, you get something big with harmony. Then you try to explain, you try to put it into words, you won't be able to explain it. It is because it's inexplicable. The first time we speak about Judaism, it was revealed to the children of Israel. The primordial Judaism before it became modified by people. Jewish people shouldn't be targeted, feel being targeted, because we're going to speak about Christians and Muslims as well. So make yourself comfortable. Okay, so who is this man, the messenger who came to them? Moise, in Latin, Musha, in Hebrew, Musa. He's a gentleman who came to them, alayhi salam. And what was his mission? The first thing, the first mission is, he has a mission to the governor and mission to his people. The governor, what he did, the dictator or Pharaoh, what he did, something cannot cross the mind of just a human being. I'm not talking about a normal or a civilized human being. He slaughtered their kids just because he had a dream that his kingdom will collapse through the hands of a baby who yet to be born that year, and he is from the children of Israel. So he decided to slaughter all the kids, the babies. This is officially. Officiously for other reasons. Other reasons is to target those people who are not indoctrinated by his dogma yet. Meaning if they are not indoctrinated, the uncertainties for him and dictators like him, it's a fear. They don't take a chance, just liquidate them. Moses alayhi salam first mission is to go to Pharaoh to speak to him. In your mind, what would you say? Is this a man that we can negotiate with? Is a man can we talk to? No, it's impossible. In our own logic, rational mindset, just this guy deserves to be killed, deserves to be, I don't know, coup d'etat or whatever. God asked Moses alayhi salam, he said, just tell him gentle words. Just tell him there is God above you. You are slave like us, meaning a servant, a big abd. But the biggest mission was to the children of Israel. أخرج قومك من الظلمات إلى النور وذكرهم بأيام الله. Rescue your people from the obscurantism. Because they were carrying Pharaoh's fabricated dogma, political agenda, political philosophy, public policy. What's all was in their mind. They don't know. People don't know this. Today, all these civilizations, so-called civilization, people are doing the same thing. And they don't know. Such a system, when it is like this today in the world, you try to fight it, you are only reinforcing its hyper-efficiency against you. You are only reinforcing it against you. Such a system, you escape it. This is not our topic, okay? I'm just probably exaggerating with my words. This is not our topic. I'm saying one mission was to Pharaoh. To tell him gentle words, the biggest mission is to the children of Israel. What he did. Judaism, before it was modified, was humility. Was humility because with the humility, when you are down, this is how you you marshal your forces. Mental forces, physical force. We don't talk about physical. We are not animals, we are human. We are human with our mind. And that's how you become more powerful. This is the mission that this gentleman, alayhi salam, he was carrying a cane all the time in his life. It's a symbol of humility. He never left it. Actually, from Adam to Muhammad, alayhi salatu salam, none of them ever left a cane. They walk with it, not because they were weak, not because they were sick, not because of handicap. No, it's just not to. Because you go beyond your humility, you are going outside your existence. What you develop is another existence. That's going to cause a chaos. He rescued his people from this subjugation, humiliation. He was treating them inhumanly. He rescued because of this. The children of Israel, after being rescued, crossing the sea, etc., and after, when it comes to physical power, Moses was a very strong man, maybe the strongest on earth. When it comes to knowledge, very knowledgeable man. Actually, God warned him. He said, Moses, be careful of this, what we call self-sufficiency. In Arabic, we say al-istidraj. be careful of this superiority. He warned him in many places. He said, keep down with human. Moses did not feel it. Attention, be careful. He did not feel it. It is just God teaching us through this gentleman. He said, Adam was in paradise. He felt this kind of over-secured. Be careful. You would feel this kind of istidraj, you know? And I kicked him from there. So you never think that that's it. I am and I am. This slack, you know, of power is very dangerous. Moses was very vigilant and he was warning them a lot. After they crossed the sea, they chose after superiority. What is the fabricated dogma that the Jews did? We are the chosen people. We are people who are not like other humanity. So this religion that was, primordially speaking, practicing humility, not practicing, maintaining humility. In other words, superiority and grandiosity can occur from gestures. If you do this all the time, it's going to affect your heart. So the gestures themselves are kind of humbling in such a way to maintain the primordial state of the heart. Sometimes the dogma itself that goes through the mind to the heart is itself spreading its repercussions towards the members of the body. You know what I'm saying? So, this is what was the primordial state or religion when it was revealed to Moses, to the children of Israel. What they did after, they fabricated this dogma, we are the chosen people, and we ride humanity, and this is the biggest mistake. Religion became more of an ethnic religion than a divine religion. Jews do not welcome you to convert. You are always as isolated. They don't call to the oneness of God. They call to we. They are the first ones who pronounce the personal pronoun we, and they, which is very strange in history. They always say that people are kind of against us and they target us, they are jealous of us, whatever. When in fact, you don't judge the reaction, you should judge the action. You isolate yourself with this superiority and you put people there. It is, as I said, is more of an ethnic religion than a divine religion. People, they feel you as an ethnic, as ethnicity. They don't feel God with you. Was Moses like this? He was not like this. The exception among the children of Israel, or I should say among the Jews, we will talk about them later. Now we're going to say, you know what is monotheism in this human being? It's like the immune system. You cannot, that's autogenic, automatic in human being. You have these white cells, they defend the body. Monotheism, the oneness of God, does not let you stay tranquil. In other words, you don't relax if you have any feeling other than God. It drains you down, brings you down. That you have the force of attraction. You cannot say, I believe in other than, you are not going to stay normal, tranquil, as I said. But what happened to them? They remained there. Because of this dogma. This dogma, fabricated dogma that we are the chosen people and God chose us to ride humanity. It's very thick. It's not a concrete. It's more than you can imagine. That is in the conscience, of course. If ever monotheism is going to drain them down, they have the fabricated dogma justify it. They have their feeling are justified by this platform that they established in their mind. That's why, when in fact it is not. Superiority, it's a vertigo. It's a dizziness. When Moses left this world, peace be upon him, his disciples, the real disciples, you know what they did? What we call in Arabic bid'ah, innovation. Some of the innovations are good, acceptable, some of them are not, but they did something wonderful, great. When the Jewish kid reached the age of puberty, a lot of new Jewish people ignore this, they don't know it. They celebrate something, but they don't know the originality. They welcome that day, surprised with a big they celebrate it humbly, with a humbleness. They give a kid a cane and they say, be careful, you detach yourself from this cane. This is our biggest weapon that God saved us from the slavery of Pharaoh. What they did through the years, they modified this innovation and they say, now it's no longer that. When the kid reached 13 years, they don't have this, but they have the age of puberty. They energize him that you became a man and you are this, but they ignore completely what is that, and they blow this kind of superiority in the kid that you are becoming a man, and they celebrate it. Same thing, others, they celebrate circumcision, etc. So this is innovation. As a matter of fact, the Torah, before it was burned completely by the invasion of Bukhtu Nasser, the Zoroastrian who invaded Jerusalem, they were burned, etc. The Torah was, oh, the humiliated people. Same thing in the Quran when you say, oh, you believers, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. In the Torah was like this. The humiliated, it was not humiliation because of anybody you are accepting to humiliate you. No, humiliation under the shade of God, under the oneness of God, that's an honor. You are constantly into ascension. But superiority, like this, like you think, you are in a constant perdition. Now, what was resulted, as I said, what is the miscreance? What was resulted from this miscreance, misinterpretation? It's not that. First, there is a psychological dizziness, psychological vertigo, and vertige psychologique. Then you have financial economic dizziness. And then you have political dizziness or vertigo. Vous avez un vertige psychologique, un vertige financier économique, vous avez un vertige politique. Vertige psychologique is a vertigo or dizziness, psychological dizziness. You find a Jewish kid, or this is a lot insecurity. Perhaps statistically speaking, they don't want to talk about this. If you look for it, they are probably maybe the highest in the world who take tranquilizers. And they don't know where is it originated from. And they don't want to divulge this, because that's a kind of it's a bad reputation. Because of this. And then this is what's going to give the person. And you find them, they study a lot. They go into languages a lot. And they go, okay, documentation is good, knowledge is good, but it's not good when you go because of fear that you will collapse. You study on your own. Get my point? If you spurred your beginning, you go with Moi's frequency, it doesn't exist, the frequency of humbleness, of humility. You're going to see yourself maybe the double, the triple, and the quadruple of what you are thinking now. But you chose out of fear, out of that vertigo or dizziness, you are, maybe you find that's not going to keep you, that you don't relax and you feel you are threatened from everywhere. And that's how they feel. And look what he gave and what he established for his nation. Look what they did. So this is a psychological vertigo. You know, the psychological in faith, psychological dizziness, we're not talking about this is the dizziness, it's not dizziness, it's the soft word. That's the soul. You are touching a very important point here that's going to cause a chaos. It is unchained. I mean, it's chained, sorry. Is a chain, in other words, like a chain of criminality. Person wants to go to the bank to rob a bank. His intention is to rob a bank. Now someone saw him, they're on a witness, and then he killed him. And then when he killed him, he left some like indices. And then he said, yo, it may be the DNA, they're gonna find my fingerprint, I don't know if where I touch, whatever, let me burn the house. And it keeps going, fear after fear. So the psychological dizziness is itself what they did. Now we go to the financial disaster. They were the first one who have dealt with interest, usury. It was prohibited in the Torah, in the Injil, Evangel, and in the Quran, forget it. By the way, between brackets, I just want to say something, it just came to cross my mind. Moses' name, alayhi salam, is mentioned more than 130 times in the Quran. It's like it was revealed to him. Whereas Muhammad is mentioned 3 times, Ahmad maybe 4. Can you believe that? There's Muhammad in a tribe of Mecca. These people who are constantly drunk 24 hours, 7 days a week. Who's going to teach him about Moses if it wasn't coming from God? Who's going to teach him? These people who are drunk 24 hours up to this present moment, they're still drunk. They are drunk. They are under the tent. You know, with a bottle of wine and watching an innocent slave dancer and yawma khamrun wa ghadan amrun. You know what I'm saying? Under a dusty tent. These people are going to teach him. So who's going to teach him? God taught him. So, more than 130 times. So you read this, you will understand. Another point also between brackets, we are only about the brackets, you know, we're going to kill ourselves. Jewish people are known by knowing history. And they know history and they know the planification in the future, they know a lot. That's not true, actually, I just want to tell you. If you know history, you are well knowledgeable about history, you should avoid the collapse. The history, you get it from the Quran. Not because it's an Arab, it's because it's universal and the place where God is teaching you reality. He's teaching you to avoid to be faced the same kind of disasters all the time. You go up and you collapse with the persecution and you think people are jealous. That's not true. Knowledge, if you are a real knowledgeable person, you should study this. Well, it's up to you how much you are open. You know what I'm saying? If you stick to your community and you say, me, myself, and I, well, me, myself, and I is only going to cause me just to put me on a suicidal platform. They deal with usury. What does usury do to people? Usury is you borrow money with interest. If you don't pay on time, interest. At the time when a person borrows the money, before that, before you borrow, people's emotions are flowing with a state of metamorphism, love, affection, generosity, maybe conflict, but it is a part of love anyway. Conflict between people, there is a harmony. This kind of all flow of the emotions, they will be seized by the bank. And no longer like that. From the time a person borrows the money up to the time, hopefully, he will finish the payment. This time is in the hand of the banking system, are not his. So try to understand the Holocaust. What does it mean, the Holocaust of the emotions? You complain about the Holocaust, but the Holocaust of the emotions is worse, and the guillotine of the emotions. So this, now, God said in the Quran, the trade is tolerated, but we prohibit usury. Is there a link between the two? You say, in your mind, in your own interpretation, your imagination, say, we tolerate the borrowing and we prohibit the usury. Maybe this is, but God said no. He said the trade, business, investment. In other words, to promote investment, it's much better. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of money, you have a billion of golds, etc. The middle, in the 17th, 18th, 16th century in Europe was going on, etc. It's not my, it's not my waste of time to go through that. Instead of this and promoting usury, why don't you promote business? He said, أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. You know what I'm saying? So here, the investment, it's enrichment. That's, you see the contact between you and these people. There's a link. It's not necessarily like, but distant there, you don't feel them. They don't feel you. And the concept should say, human being was born, created from unicellular, not pluricellular. Today you don't care, of course, it's your money, etc. But there's a link of something. Trade, investment, generosity, charity, etc. But not usury. Usury is the, as I said, is the Holocaust of the emotion. You can tell people up to where today they are living to. What are the consequences, repercussions on people? The whole economy of the country now is based on this usury. If you check today which country is the suicidal rate the highest in the world, check it out. Okay, don't judge, for instance, a polytheist nation like such as Japan is very high, South Korea is very high, but you find them all these capitalist nations. Where is the source? Where is the problem coming from? Is one case. This one we're going to talk about. This one we speak about Christianity. So, as I said, now, what does usury do to the nation? It energizes the nation and accelerates the project unbelievably. When you see that, your eyes fall on the project, structures, superstructures, but you fail to understand what is causing that. This is the extirpation of people's emotions. This is a sign of the extirpation of the emotions of people. It's not people voluntarily. People are all indebted and they rush after this kind of civilization, project, super project, and etc. Borrow money, build, you are kind of